still going live. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, welcome to the ISSA Pre-Professional Virtual Meetup. Thank you for joining today. My name is Randall Fritchie and I will be your moderator today. I want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. On behalf of the ISSA, I want to thank you for being a member of the ISSA. Our organization, our industry is strong because of folks like you who are always looking for ways to better themselves. As I said, my name is Randall. I'm the moderator today. I am the Information Security Officer for Prominence Health Plan, which is a subsidiary of Catholic Health Initiatives based in Denver. I am a certified information system security professional, certified ethical hacker. I'm also an ISSA fellow. I was the president of the ISSA Kentuckiana chapter for 8 years before I moved out here, and also chaired the Louisville Metro InfoSec Conference for 5 years. I'm now plugged in with the Denver chapter here, and it is a great chapter. We also have the Rocky Mountain Information Security Conference coming up in May of 2016. It is the biggest security conference in this region. Over 750 attendees come out every year for that, so if you're in the area, please come out. I wanted to explain the Cybersecurity Career Lifecycle Program. Today's event is a function of that. That is an offering geared towards the pre-professional and entry-level members of information security. Based on feedback from the pre-professional meetup that was held in Orlando during the international conference, we provide our pre-professional entry-level members the opportunity to meet experts in a given specialty of cybersecurity in an informal and relaxed venue. So during this virtual meetup, you can ask questions and learn firsthand what it takes to get the job, what skills are necessary, and how to obtain the skills, as well as ask any questions that might help in preparing for working towards the job. We hope to continue the virtual meetups in the future with additional guests and topics based on feedback from our pre-professional and entry-level members. So now I'd like to introduce our honored and distinguished panelists today. First up, we have Mark Spencer.
Hi, welcome. I'm Mark Spencer. I'm the past Vice President and President of the Colorado Springs chapter of ISSA, one of the larger chapters. I spent 14 years on the board at the chapter and been a member of ISSA since 1996. I received my CISSP in January of 1997, and I've been an active practitioner of cybersecurity for about 22 years now. I generally work for DoD contractors. I'm working for a major defense company right now, and my specialty, I guess, is getting people to think. Which is a real challenge sometimes for cybersecurity people, is getting the other people to think about what's really going on. So with that, I'm a distinguished fellow of ISSA. I'm also on the ISSA honor roll, and I look forward to answering your questions and helping provide you some information that might help you enter this career field.
Thank you, Mark. The next panelist is John Zuziak.
Thank you, Randall. So my name is John Zuziak. I am Information Security Director for Catholic Health Initiatives based out of Denver, Colorado. I actually reside in just south of Cincinnati, Ohio, and I am a former board member of the Greater Cincinnati chapter of the ISSA. I was on the board for about 5 to 6 years, serving a couple of different positions from director of membership to treasurer to secretary. Since then, I've stepped down. I'm still active in the board. Still active with the organization. Go to the monthly meetings. We have usually about 10 months out of the year meetings in Cincinnati that we attend. I found to be great, or a fantastic area to network with other security professionals. What else? So I have the CISSP I have that since about 2004. I also recently received the Certified Business Continuity Professional certification. And kind of like Mark, my passion is to try to educate and get people to buy into the security programs. When I make them think that it's their idea to join along with security rather than something that we're pushing down on them. And that seems to be a pretty successful way to help move the security program forward. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Also, we had another panelist scheduled, and he has since passed away, and that is Don Glass. And I would like to take a moment to recognize Don. Don passed away on July 18th. He was scheduled to be a panelist for our event today. He was a special guy, and he was loved by everyone in the ISSA. Donald served as the past president of the ISSA South Florida Board. He was a founding member and past international relations liaison of the ISSA Buenos Aires chapter and a fellow with the ISSA. He also served as chair of the International Awards Committee for the ISSA. He was a prominent member of the ISSA South Florida chapter, and that chapter has dedicated their new certification courses in Donald's name, knowing that he will always live on by sharing knowledge with those who seek it. So in lieu of flowers, we are asking if you care to make a donation to further the research and awareness of Marfan's syndrome by donating money. If you want to, go out to marfan.org and follow the links to get involved, then to the give, and then memorial gifts. And if you do that, please make sure you send the notice of your gift to Sirocco Villa Glass, who is Donald's wife, so she's also aware of your generous contribution. So I want to go over the ground rules real quick, just restate why we're here. The ISSA makes this an opportunity to have folks like Mark and John, who are experts in the field, have been in this business a long time and have a lot of expertise, and it gives you the opportunity to ask them questions and listen to their answers on topics that may benefit you in your career and benefit you in your job search and how to improve and progress in the information security industry. This meeting will go until 8 p.m. Eastern. I will ask a question that we've either received in advance. You can also enter questions into the Q&A window, and those questions can be voted on, and the ones that get the most votes, we will try to choose from those. So if everyone's ready, we'll get started. So the first question to Mark. Can you describe your areas of expertise? How did you get started in the industry? And what have you done to make yourself successful?
Well, I served 22 years on active duty, and during that time, I helped put in a network because I thought it was needed at one of the Air Force bases, and was acting as a system administrator part-time for it, and had a company come down, and they were going to do an accreditation of our network. So they would ask me for things, and of course there was no directive saying what you had to do, but everything they asked me for, I had either started or a draft of it or something because it made sense. And so from that, it just kind of kept going, so that when I left active duty, they asked me to join that company. So I worked with them then for about 11 years, and I found out one thing very interesting. I started out, I would tell people what they had to do, and much to my chagrin, they didn't have to do it, and they didn't have to listen to me. And at first, I kind of took it personally, and I decided, well, it's not my system, it's theirs. I don't own it. So I don't tell people they have to do anything. I recommend they do certain things, and I'll explain the consequences if they don't. I feel that that's a much better way to do it. First of all, it keeps your blood pressure down, and also it makes you a little more welcome when you walk in the door.
Excellent. John, same question.
So I started in information security from I was in a position of IT director for a very small credit union, just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. And the more I was getting involved and kind of starting to lead the group, the more I realized we had nothing to do with security going on in the credit union, and that scared me. And so I sort of fell into the position just based on need of the organization. I kept driving towards and kind of building a security program, which is something that we never had before. So it was great to be able to build something up from scratch. Definitely started off very technical. We're just looking at the very basic network controls and endpoint controls, and built into a risk management program from there. After that, I went to a little bit larger company that was focused in sales, and I was lucky enough to be in a position for information security manager. Um, the organization itself was pretty stable, so there wasn't a whole lot going on within the organization. But because it was an IT services company, I was able to kind of get out and help with a lot of the customers' information security needs. And so I got some exposure to different organizations there. I would say definitely my I'm not going to say it's a strength, because it's, no one really said it, I'm strong in that area, but the passion of mine is on the risk management side and helping the business identify, or solve some of the problems that the business has with some security solutions, and making sure that we find a good compromise, that security isn't being forced upon them, but we can help build a good relationship to help move it forward, where we're both happy at the end with the end result.
Great. Thank you both for answering that. From my perspective, I would say that just in general, in this business, certifications, at least very early on, are really, really important to help prove that you have the skills that they're looking for, and you're kind of trying to set yourself apart from other people who are applying for the same job. So certifications are a great way to do that. Also education. It's becoming very competitive market in security. I just finished my master's degree, and the more I look, the more people have a master's. So now, what do I have to do? Get a PhD, right? So education is really important to make yourself competitive, and also to learn. And then I would say just as important is networking, and networking with other people in the business, going to ISSA meetings, not only to learn from the speakers, but also to rub elbows with all the other folks in the business, get to know them. I can tell you that is probably one of the most important things that I've ever done, is become very active networking, and that's helpful for the career. And just to kind of echo what John just said, as far as the business, understanding the business, that is really helpful. That will distinguish you in security every single time. If you can really understand the business, and what are they trying to accomplish, and how do you help them get there in security. It's not kind of what Mark said. It's not just saying no to everything. That's not what security means. Security is help them build a secure platform so they have a solid, stable business to run. That's our job. So understanding that. Okay, the next question that I have here, we actually kind of answered this. Let me jump to the next one. What cybersecurity conferences and networking events do you attend? Mark, also maybe turn your camera on. We'd like to see you, Mark.
Okay. Unfortunately, because of the area that I work in and the myriad of duties that they've given me, I don't get to attend all the conferences I'd like to. I have attended the International Conference for ISSA, which I enjoyed very much. Fantastic speakers, and a chance to meet the people that I've worked with over the phone and in webinars and so forth. But we also, in our chapter, we hold a couple conferences each year. We've got a major conference coming up next week. It'll be 2 days. And we normally get about 500 people registered for that conference, so we expect a good turnout on that. And in a chapter, we also put out a chapter conference, a one-day conference about twice a year. And the reason we do this, and in our chapter we try not to charge for that. It's just a matter of getting people a chance to find out what's going on in our profession, what's the new technology, and we also do that in our chapter meetings. We invite vendors to come in. Tell them if you do a vendor pitch, people remember they have a meeting and they'll leave. So come in and talk about the technology and talk about what's different about your technology, and you'll capture them and they'll stay and they'll ask lots of very, very good questions. Our chapter encourages the vendors to send their engineers instead of their product pitches, because they get down into the depths. We've got probably a dozen PhDs in the chapter. We've got students in the chapter. The full range. So it works out really well. I would encourage you to go to all the conferences you can. Go to vendor presentations. Just keep in mind, you go to a vendor presentation, it's a vendor pitch, but you'll learn a lot about the equipment that's available, some of the applications that are available, and think critically about what they're saying, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
John?
Yep, I would say real quick, I completely agree with Mark said. I mean, I go to every conference you can, ask the questions. I think that's the most critical thing with those conferences is you get out what you put into it. And so if you just go to a conference, kind of sit in the back and listen, it's good. But the more questions you ask, the more people you meet and learn about the product, learn about the different solutions, it's so valuable. And you can start to apply that same knowledge to other areas as well. Kind of I guess the conferences that I go to, I have a young family and pretty busy at work, so it's pretty rare that I get to pull myself away and go to a conference out, one of the bigger conferences out west. But I do my best to go to all of the chapter conferences that are in the area. Any of the security groups that should come local, if they put on a different conference, we'll go there. Both the Cincinnati chapter and the Louisville chapter, which is about maybe an hour and a half away, put on really good annual meetings that bring in a pretty big draw of people, have some great speakers, and it's a great way to network. And so I definitely attend those conferences once a year, and then just the monthly meetings, the best that I can. Another area that I've noticed and that's kind of grown in our area. One of the past board members of the Greater Cincinnati chapter formed their own called a work group. It's a breakout session, I guess, of the ISSA chapter in Cincinnati. And what we did, we pulled together a lot of the security leaders for the healthcare organizations around our region, and we meet once a month just to really. It started off just getting some coffee and talking about a lot of the troubles that we have day to day within security, and it's turned into a great work group where we can just bounce ideas off of each other day to day. It's one of those meetings now or groups now that there's no wrong answer. Anyone throw out any question that you have, and we'll see who has the best answer. And as a group, we kind of work towards the best solution. Because the one thing that I've realized is we all have very similar problems. It doesn't matter what industry and what company you work for, we're all facing the same challenges.
Excellent. Thank you. The next question I have, Mark, as a hiring manager, what do you look for in an entry-level or a junior candidate applying for a security position?
Well, I've been a hiring manager, believe it or not, among my many duties throughout the 22 years. Usually, it's a group type of interview. I don't concentrate on the technical aspects because usually have a lot of people who are much more technically competent than I. I can hold my own, but they're experts, and I don't consider myself an expert on much of anything. I just know a little bit about everything, I think. But I look to see, how does this person present themselves? Can they communicate? do they understand what we're talking about? Are they trying to bluff their way through it? That'll get you thrown out right away. I mean, you go to the bottom of the list, and if we can't pull somebody off the street, we might look at you again. But it's I would encourage you, if you go in for an interview and somebody asks you a question you don't know, tell them you don't know. Tell them what you do know about it, but you're not thoroughly versed in it. Let them know. And if you're interested in it, tell them you're interested in it. You'd like the opportunity to learn it and apply that knowledge. Because if that's not the way you feel, then you're probably looking in the wrong field anyhow. So, as a hiring manager, I look to see, will you fit in the group? Because every organization has a group dynamic, and we want you to fit into it. We want you to be one of the guys, because if you're not happy, then that's not good, because other people are not going to be happy then also. So, put your best foot forward. I encourage you to understand the language of business. That's one of the roughest jobs we have, is translating our cybersecurity terms, which we throw around, often, into business terms that the businessman can learn. Do not expect them to pick up your language. You have to translate it to theirs. They don't have time to try to figure out what you're saying. You've got to make it clear, concise, and in terms they understand.
Thanks. John?
Thank you. I would say the key that I look for is the attitude. I always want to make sure the person has the right attitude for the position. I know there's none of us that that are out there. I haven't met a single security professional that will tell you that they have all the answers. So I want to make sure the person that we're interviewing, that we're looking to hire, has the right attitude. That if they do not know the answer, they're willing to track it down. They're going to hunt down that answer, find the best solution for whatever problems we have, and drive resolution. The other piece is around value add. I've always wanted to make sure that whoever we're hiring understands the industry enough to know that as they apply security to it, they're adding value to the company. Typically, most people really don't see security as adding value. In a lot of areas, a lot of the business side doesn't see it. They see it's just spending all their money and preventing them from doing some of the other stuff that they want to do. So we constantly have to prove to them, hey, we're putting in this solution. It's going to add this value to the organization. A lot of times, the organization will find a way to spin it to turn it into a sales point. This is what distinguishes us from our competitors. We're more secure in this area because we go down and we audit all of our vendors, or whatever that magic sauce is. That's what we do. That keeps us different and adds value to the organization. It's definitely the attitude and what you can do to add value to the company. I think, as Mark said, one of the greatest things that I heard and what I love to see in an interview is when a candidate says, I'm just not sure. I haven't heard of that term yet. I'm not sure what that solution is, but I would love to find out more, and I'd love to give you a better answer next time we talk. Because, as I said before, no one has all the answers. There's too much out there in this field to say I know it all.
Excellent, excellent. And I add my 2 cents into there. I would say that, to echo what John just said, I always look for attitude and aptitude. Those are the 2 things that you have to have. If you have those 2 things, I can teach you the rest. If you don't have those 2 things, I can't teach you. You probably don't want to learn it, and you probably aren't going to be a very good fit. But the attitude is critical, and also the aptitude. You have to be able to pick this stuff up. You have to have a good aptitude for it. And now that I'm living in Denver, I have to add a 3rd one, and that's altitude. So I guess we'll move on from there. But I want to take a question from the audience. This comes from Roberto. Thank you, Roberto. He says, with so many different areas of security, how do you learn about which direction to go? Or how do you learn what different paths there are? Mark?
That's a very good question, Roberto. Like you said, there are a lot of areas in security. I mean, it's we talk about the the cybersecurity field as being a mile wide and an inch deep. Well, it's got some potholes that are pretty deep in there too, and about the only way you really find out what you want to do is learn. Just pick up one of the CISSP books. Start going through it. You'll find a piece of it that suddenly you find yourself going back to it and reading it again, and you want more information on it. Some people get really involved in cryptography. Some people love to take packets apart and figure out what's happening at the packet level on networks. I particularly don't care for that, but it's a valuable skill. I've been fortunate in that literally I have taught all of the domains of cybersecurity that are involved with the CISSP. I taught in the university level for 7 years, and I taught security courses and built many of the security courses. Some of the courses were a lot more fun than others. If I wasn't working where I am right now, I might take on disaster recovery and business continuity because it's a fascinating field. But then again, I've been doing security architecture now for the last couple of years, and that's very interesting also. So, I think as I get more and more involved, it's harder and harder to decide which direction to go because everything touches everything else. To learn the different paths, go to the conferences, listen to people talk about these things, talk about the new technologies, talk about the latest hacks. We're hacking cars now. How does that happen? What's involved in that? Well, part of it, you've got to get a do a Bluetooth hack, and then you've got to get into the system and take it over. Well, some people really get involved in the certified ethical hacking. Just a side note on that, as Randall will probably elaborate, I hope. The certified ethical hacker is not really a hacker. We call them penetration testers. The difference between a penetration tester and an actual black hat hacker is attitude and motivation. And they use the same tools. They do the same things. It's just that the penetration tester stops before they break something. So there are a lot of areas. People get really involved in a lot of the different areas, and I encourage you to just go find out about them. Ask people about them. Ask them to sit down and explain it to you. Find out what you want to do.
Excellent. John?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would say, the most important way to dig deeper and to find, all the different paths is based on your passion. And when you got into security, what was your passion? Why did you get into security? What excites you about security? That's where you start. When I first got in, I kind of looked at it and I saw how many different domains were out there and the different avenues you could take to advance your career, and it was frustrating at first. And I was kind of terrified of where do I go? Do I make the wrong decision? And someone told me right away, you can't make the wrong decision, because even if you start to go down a path and you realize that's not for you, you learn something about that path, and now you know a little bit more in that field. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Go to a conference of something that really just kind of doesn't necessarily spark your interest at first. Learn a little bit more about it. See if that's what you want to do, and if that kind of strikes that passion, go down that road and see what's available there. The other, the first point of the different conferences, there's so many different, so much information out there, and so many different groups that you can talk to about the information security. There's every different certification. It seems like every certification also has a different type of work group or conference that they host. And so, feel free to go out there and take a look. Reading, I think one thing that I do is I have books, on kind of every different topic within security that I'll pick up and read a little bit about on. Typically, it's for kind of reference for something I'm doing within the job. I'll look at it and reference back to it. keep that at the nightstand. Sometimes it's the great stuff. Other times it's cryptography, which puts me straight to sleep. So I struggle through those pages, but I try. That's definitely not my passion, but it's good to know and to pick up some of those highlights of that information. So yeah, I'd say just definitely what kind of what's driving you right now. If what's that passion, both for what you like to do, and also what if you have a job within security or you're just starting off in there, where are they driving you? Kind of learn on both sides of that and use it as your the platform for your next move.
Thank you, John. And I would add to that sometimes a certification or a class can help you to define not only what are the areas in security, but what are the areas that I'm most interested in and have the best aptitude for. So I teach the Security Plus and the Certified Ethical Hacking classes, and I can tell you there are times we start talking about access controls, and about 90% of the class is half asleep. We start getting into cryptography, and John just attested to, most of the people are scratching their head, and we get to other things that are more sexy, like penetration testing. Everybody seems to wake up, and everybody's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and sitting at the front of the class. So, everybody seems to have their interests. But one thing that I would caution you is, it's a pretty broad field, and you can never be an expert in everything. If anybody tells you they're an expert in security, they're lying to you. Maybe they don't realize it, but they don't. There's so many. You could spend a lifetime, on cryptography or any of the different domains within security, and and still not be an expert at it. So, definitely take a certification. Security Plus is a great one. It covers all the domains. See which one speaks to you and which ones doesn't. And you're probably not going to have that much of a choice when you're looking for a job in security if you don't have one already. You're probably going to be looking at any security job that's an entry-level job, and most likely those are either first-level analysts or first-level operational people. And those are the people that are, checking the logs. And security is not, like CSI Cyber. We're not, we don't carry guns and badges and chase people. We look at logs. That's our job. We check the logs. That's where all of our intelligence is at. Hopefully we are getting alerts on things, so we read alerts. We try to have to look at those alerts and make a decision. Is it something that we need to spend more time on, or is it a false positive? It takes a lot of passion. You have to understand why we're doing it. Why do I need to check those logs? Because you find that one little nugget, it turns into an actual attack in progress. Then all the juices start to get flowing, and then you kind of feel like CSI Cyber, but those are pretty few and far between. Luckily, we don't get attacked that often. But definitely gravitate towards what you like. Get a job in the field first. Get your certifications. Make sure you have education that matches where you want to go in this business. Get out, talk to people, network with people. Ask them a lot of questions. Meet all the people in security. Go to the ISSA meetings, and you will start to gravitate towards that. And as you build skills, then you're going to start being more valuable, and you'll start to get offered tasks, if not jobs, in those areas that you're interested in, because you have that interest and because you have that the skill and the expertise with it. So,
and I'll add one thing onto that, Rand, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Once you start to get on those different paths and you start to, you dig deeper down one, you start to realize how connected all the domains are together, and you start to see how this puzzle fits together, and that's, you start linking this stuff up, and you can use information from one area, on the forensic side to the risk management side, and it's a balance, and it helps out so much from there. So, as we were saying, you can't make a mistake. As you start to go down a path, you'll realize it's connected, and it might not be necessarily your passion, but it'll link you to the next step that is your passion.
Well, my anecdote. Got a job in security, and I thought it was awesome, and they said you have to write a vision and scope document. And so I went home and told my wife, I'm going to get fired my first day because I don't know what a vision and scope document is. So you kind of have to learn as you go, but it really is just Go in there every day, showing that aptitude, showing that attitude, and you'll get opportunities. You get exposed to the different things, and then you kind of get the experience, and you get the get the exposure along the way. So
Yeah, I'd like to
mm-hmm.
a little anecdote also. The path in security is not straight and is not, a single path. Like John said, there are a lot of branches in it, and the branches interconnect, and you may come back to the path you started on. You may merely cross it occasionally. I've done a lot of different areas, worked in a lot of different areas. Some of them I like better than others. I can write policy. I don't particularly care for it. I have a good friend who just absolutely grooves on writing policies. And anytime I can call him in to do it, I will do that, because he writes good, solid, simple policies that you can follow and build on. That's a talent. And you're going to find that in your journey that you have certain talents that then you can expand. Apparently mine is a little different in that I'm not doing cybersecurity work right now. They put me in systems engineering, working with systems engineering group. So I'm the cybersecurity engineer in systems engineering, which is an interesting concept in itself. But what I'm doing is I'm rewriting their documents so that the security goes into the beginning of a project rather than get called in at the last minute. So we actually build the projects as secure projects. And that, when I started doing that as a security architect, developing new ground stations for satellite systems, apparently the chief engineer noticed that, and next thing you know, I've got a desk in systems engineering. So you never know where it's going to take you. It's a fun ride. It's a wild ride at times. But you really have to have a very broad knowledge of what's going on, because for instance, Randall, you're talking about you get into the penetration testing. Everybody wakes up. Well, okay, so why are they doing penetration testing, and what good does it do? If they can do the penetration testing but they don't know how to fix it, are they really valuable to you? So, and also they have to understand the systems they're working on. You have to understand the operating systems and the access control systems, because sometimes it's not what you see, it's the way it feels. I've had instances where I was doing testing, and I found out that that didn't feel right. It shouldn't come back that fast. I went in and checked, and they had hard-coded the password. So you get more and more experience, and you find different areas that you can go in. The ideal thing about that, though, is you're not locked into one small area of security. Then you take that knowledge with you wherever you go. And if you actually get out of the cybersecurity field and go into business, everything that you've used becomes an asset. It becomes another tool for you as a businessman. So learn as much as you can, and as much variety as you can. It would be my advice.
Excellent, thank you. I wanted to throw out another anecdote there that kind of speaks to this point. I went to work for University Hospital in Louisville, Kentucky, and the job was security, but it was on the network team, kind of the way Mark's talking. They needed somebody that had a security background to work on the network team, and that's because the network team did most of the security stuff, and so they hired me to be part of the network team. And so in addition to doing some of the security things, I was racking servers. I was patching servers. I was running cable, and I loved it. So you really have to have a love for technology in general. You really have to have enjoy being service oriented to the business and understand you're there to provide a service to the business. IT is a service organization, and the business is our customer. And in security, it's the same thing. We are here to provide a service to that business. So you really have to love that. You have to understand that's your mission. And if they ask you to rack a server, you know what I mean, and you really don't want to rack a server because you want to go do penetration testing, then you're probably not going to last very long. You have to be willing to jump in there, get your hands dirty, learn all the different areas, and be part of the team. And if you do that and you had a good aptitude for security, then you will gravitate naturally towards the security stuff, and you will gradually become a security person, whatever that really means, and you will. I think you will be successful. So I also wanted to speak to Mark's comment about the penetration testing. I would say that my guidance to my students is most people that want to come into security come into it because they want to be a penetration tester. And I could tell you the penetration testers are probably 5% of the security population, because there are very few of them, and those that are doing it professionally for a living are very, very, very good at it. It's certainly a skill that's great to have in any capacity in security. I do risk assessments. Having that technical knowledge is very, very helpful for me when I'm assessing a technology, assessing an application, assessing vendor controls, because they can't talk over my head. I can ask them the questions, and I can dive as deep as I need to be able to assess the risk to my business with their technology. So it's not, it's good to pursue that. It's good to have those skills, but don't have the illusion that you're going to go out in the first year and be a penetration tester, because it's probably not realistic. You have to go and pay your dues. You have to be a security analyst. You have to look at logs. You have to know how to write firewall rules. You have to, how to maybe tune an IDS or an IPS. You have to understand the concepts and technology, and then if you want to be a pen tester, great. If you're very good at it and you have a lot of skill and talent for that, we definitely need all the good pen testers we can get, but definitely when you're getting started, make sure that you have that well-rounded education, certification base, and you have a good network of people in the business. And attend things like this, which hopefully are very helpful. I want to speak to Daniel's question. Daniel Brabins has put a couple questions there. They're actually pretty specific questions. I kind of want to ask a more general question, include Daniel's question in that, and that is, what technologies in general do you feel are most important for an entry-level or junior person to learn today to prepare to succeed? Daniel's asking specifically about the Cisco CCNA, the Certified Ethical Hacking, the Kali Linux operating systems, and so forth. But really, in general, what technologies do you feel that they should spend the most time in, and also what other skills in general should they spend time investing in learning? Mark.
Okay, right now, I'm seeing virtualization really taking off, because putting servers out for everything gets to be very expensive, and people can't afford it. So virtualization would be a good place to start. Excuse me. The other thing is understand the cloud. Cloud technology also, in connection with virtualization, is going to take over. It's not going to take over the small systems, but the large systems it will. And let's face it, that's where the money is, and with the large systems. So that's where you want to go.
Okay, John.
Yep, I would definitely echo the cloud. The old magic cloud is the place to be. Learn as much as you can about what different cloud providers and cloud solutions are out there. That seems, I think, every security professional right now that I talk to, that is one, where their business is going, and two, that's their biggest concern for their business. They see the most risk there. Might not necessarily be from the the hackers that are out there. But in order to stay compliant with different regulations, they realize there's a lot of controls that we have to put in place. Might not be technical, it might be something as deep as a process or just a policy alone. So understand how those technologies are working, what those new and advancing technologies are, and how the different businesses are starting to use those. Um, One thing that we're on the healthcare side, so we see we have to increase the amount of technology that we use as an organization. That's happening every day. It's a business driver. Just to meet different regulations as part of the Affordable Book Care Act, we have to advance our technology, and it's also great for patient care. At the same time, we have to reduce costs. So our costs, the amount of technology used is going up, the amount of cost that we have is going down. And what's that requiring is we're looking for new and that advanced technology. We're looking for those cloud solutions. So that's definitely where I focus the attention. One other thing that I'm starting to hear a lot of, I've seen a lot of, is I guess some people kind of clump it in the same realm as the cloud, but it's that we call it Internet of Services or Internet of Things, where these Fitbits and the smartphones and the different apps that reside on them and all these different gadgets and technologies that we have out there today. Those are now starting to become assets of organizations and assets of what people use to communicate. There's no longer that clear line of home and work. It's or personal and corporate. It's all together these days. So learn as much as you can about those technologies. It's definitely important to learn about the big foundational things. Those the ethical hacking and those tools. Those are great for certifications.
Right.
Take classes on those and read specific articles about those. At the same time, learn as much as you can about where the technology is going and those advances and what people are using. Those cutting edge advances, that's where security starts to go after time. Typically, IT takes that first step. They go out. Everything seems safe at first. Things start to fall apart, whether it's through regulation or auditors hitting us, or hackers, coming in and getting some of our stuff. Then security is pulled right in there along. So whatever you can do to kind of learn what your organization or what areas of interest you are advancing, follow and read up on those things.
Excellent. Thank you. I would definitely echo what John and Mark have said about the cloud and virtualization. That is absolutely the direction that everyone is moving. In security, we really have to have a good understanding of how that really works. Do you know how the Amazon cloud works? Do you know how virtualization works? Do you understand about a hypervisor and how it virtualizes an operating system? And really understand how those work. And really, in general, we're talking about security architecture. Understand how to architect a network, a DMZ, to make it safe. Because you may be asked to build one. You may be asked to assess one if you go into a company. Am I doing it right or not? And are you the expert at it? You're going to have to be able to tell them yes or no. And what can I do to improve it? Also, I would say anything to do with Microsoft and Cisco. Those two technologies kind of rule the world. So. If you take a certification on a Microsoft Server operating system, that's a good, or even at least a class, that's a good thing to know. Understand how the operating system works. If you don't know how the operating system works, you're not as good a security person as you could be. Same thing with Cisco. How does a router work? How does a firewall work? How does a switch work? Understand layer 2, understand layer 3, OSI model. And then as far as operating systems are concerned, speaking directly to Daniel's question, the Linux skill, it's a great skill to have, even if it's the most basic skill. To get into a Linux box, be able to get around on the command line. And Kali Linux, I would say, is very good. The Kali Linux, for those that don't know, it's basically the newest version of Backtrack. It's a special a flavor of Linux that has all the security tools baked into it, pre-installed, and the biggest piece of that is Metasploit. So I would definitely recommend you at least become familiar with Linux and Kali, become familiar with Metasploit. What is it? Because if you run a vulnerability scanner today, most of them will spit out Is there a malware kit available for this vulnerability? Is there a Metasploit module available for this vulnerability? And those are really your hair on fire vulnerabilities, because that means that somebody with very little skill can push a button, click a mouse, and run an exploit against your server based on the fact that you have that particular vulnerability. So understand what it is. If you take the Certified Ethical Hacking class, you will actually do that in lab. You will create phishing emails. You will actually exploit a box and take it over using phishing. And you, by doing that and seeing that, you really kind of go, oh my gosh, the light comes on, right? That you go, oh my gosh, now I know what we're really doing here. It kind of seemed like it was silly for me to sit and look at all these logs, you know, for 8 hours a day. But now I get it. I understand why. Why am I doing this? Because there are people out there that have these tools like Metasploit that can just click a mouse and push a button and take over and own my server. That's very scary stuff. So definitely, and if you're very interested in that and you go down the path of that, you know, there's a big need for that in security, people like that. Development, scripting, I say is very important to be able to understand how scripts work, to be able to write scripts. That's great. And if you have a development background, if you can do C++ or I dare say Java, but you know, any kind of development background is very good, because the world runs on software. So understand how software works, understand how code works. That makes you just a better security person in general also. And then I would say in general, other skills that you should have would be writing skills. You should certainly be able to write a report, make it communicate, because what we have to do is communicate our concepts up to people in leadership so that they can make decisions. That's what our job is. We're kind of like the lawyers, and we give them counsel on what they should do. And if we can't communicate that to them well, then they don't really know what we're talking about. So definitely be able to write well, write a report, communicate well, as Mark has also alluded to. So, all right. Next question comes from Mary Daggett. Hi, Mary. I feel like I'm on a radio station here. Maybe I have a career as a DJ someday, right? Mary asks, what is the best way to approach someone you would like to as a mentor? I'd like that question to go out to Mark.
Actually, I've had some direct experience that I've mentored several people over the years, and two just this last year. One young lady came up to me and she said, you seem to know what you're doing, and I'm looking for a mentor. Would you be interested in doing that for me? And so I took her on as a mentor. She's, you know, absolutely terrific. She's now been hired on by my company. She was a student then, and they brought her in as an intern. Gave her, you know, a good recommendation on that, and now she's been hired in as a full-time engineer. And so, Mary, I would say go talk to the people that you think that you want to learn from. Just go talk to them. And maybe they don't want to take you on as a mentor, but they can point you to someone who might. So, you know, one of the biggest problems is our reluctance to put ourselves out. You know, you'll find that if you get into the security field, you get used to disappointment. So just don't take it personally. You know, people don't turn you down because they don't like you. Often, you know, you turn somebody down because you can't devote the time that you feel it needs to do a good job. So you would be doing them a disservice. So if somebody says no, they won't take you on as a mentee, that's not against you. It's because maybe they're just too busy. So just put yourself out there. Go find somebody that you think that you can learn from, that you would like to work with, and someone that you respect, and ask them.
Excellent. John?
Yep, I would completely agree. I think the most important thing, you know, is going out and asking. If you have found somebody that you believe is, you know, that you think is successful, you respect them, and you want to learn from them, I can guarantee you that same person had a mentor at one time, and if they still don't today, and they're most of the time they're more than willing to either take you on as as their mentor, or point you in the right direction and help you find somebody that would be willing, at that time. I can say, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for a handful of people that I still talk to today and still look up to help mentor me. And at the same time, pretty often, I'll get a call from somebody, and I'm more than happy to spend some time with them. Might not be something as formal as once a week or anything like that, touching base and being their mentor, but definitely whatever I can do to help them. It's the one thing that I've learned about the security group is it's a pretty tight knit group of people. We've all have had a lot of the same struggles. We've all taken similar paths in what we've done, and in order to be successful, everyone is well aware you got to reach out and help somebody, and I pay it forward a lot of times, and you'll definitely find someone who's willing to help.
I mentioned also that one of the best places to find mentors would be your local ISSA chapter, because I'm pushing ISSA because I really believe in it, but it's also full of people who are professionals who want to continue to grow as professionals, and they feel so strongly about their profession they want to help other people grow also. That's a good place to find mentors.
Completely agree. Through the people that I still work with day to day, that I still consider them to be my mentors, are from the ISSA. We meet often, and from that we've formed a very close relationship, and we network, and we form different breakout groups that we talk to, and we work together on a lot of different projects. And I think it's one of the best things you can do.
Yes, absolutely agree. And one thing I would say is, if they're a good mentor, they're probably very passionate about this business, and if they're very passionate about it, they're probably a good mentor. And if they're not passionate about it, they probably weren't a good mentor anyway. The people that I've encountered that were mentors, really made you excited about this business, and they did it because they really enjoyed it, and they want to see you succeed. They want to share that knowledge with you. I think that's what we're all kind of doing here, because we do really love being in security, and we also do really enjoy being part of the ISSA. And I think that just shows the passion, and that's the kind of people you want to have as a mentor. And they're going to give you advice. The mentors that I've had along the way, and I have to say, at the risk of embarrassing him, Mr. Zuziak here, John is one of my mentors, but I work for John, so I just want to say that those type of people, they're very valuable to approach. If you find somebody's passionate about that, go out, talk to them. Don't be afraid, talk to them, because they will share with you, and you will learn from them, and you'll probably end up having a good relationship with that person. So. Excellent. All right. Speaking of the ISSA, I wanted to ask, how can I take advantage of the ISSA to improve or progress in information security? What are all the ways? Mark?
Well, for one thing, if you attend the ISSA meetings, you'll meet people that are in the field. You'll be able to, form relationships with them. It's called networking. And in my own experience, I've seen some very interesting things happen. Went into one of our meetings at one time. We had lunch meetings, and there was a small table of 4 in the back. And I recognized the 4 gentlemen that were sitting there. They're from 4 different companies, competitors. But they were all bent over, and they were talking, really, really in depth about something. I just went back to see what was going on. It appeared as though one of them had a problem he didn't know how to solve. And so the 4 of them were brainstorming a solution. When they left the meeting, they would go their separate ways and wouldn't talk to one another because they were from different competing companies. But as part of the ISSA, they were professionals, and they were friends, and they were helping one another. I've also seen people get jobs that way. In our chapter of about 385, when I was president, anytime somebody was out of work, I'd know about it because they're asking if I know of anything. And we went through some bad economic times over the last few years. And our chapter at one time had 5 people out of work without jobs and no particular prospects. That lasted about a month and they got picked up. Strangely enough, they were working with other members of the chapter. I've also seen students come to the meetings and sit, generally with the same people. People get their table and their chair and how they are. It's like going to church with your pew. But they sit there and they talk and they form these relationships. And the student would get to know these people. They would get to know the student. And students coming up for graduation or getting close and starting to worry about, what am I going to do to pay the bills? And I saw this one instance where they asked for a resume and explained exactly what they wanted on the resume. Don't tell me your classes, tell me what you learned, because nobody wants to look at a resume to see what classes you took. Because I don't want to go find the syllabus to find out what it was. Tell me what you learned that I can use. Month later, back there, and the guy said, here, I want you to go to this website and open up this job rec. Well, that job rec had everything but the person's name on it. It took a month because the boss, the manager, didn't know he needed another job rec opened until the guy got back there with a resume and could figure out how to leverage that, because he knew the student, he understood what the skill set the student had, and then literally built a job for him. And I've seen that happen. And so don't underestimate networking. It is a very, very valuable resource.
John?
Yeah, I would definitely say the monthly chapter meetings are a great way to leverage ISSA and the different tools that they have to offer. I know when I was as I said, I started off with a smaller credit union, and once I felt like I kind of hit the ceiling at that credit union, I knew I wanted a different challenge. I wanted to go someplace else. I was heavily involved with the Greater Cincinnati chapter of the ISSA at the time, and networking with those my fellow board members and other people within the organization. They helped me find the next job, and it was something that kind of was one of those friends of a friend knew of a position that was opening up, and sure enough, they helped to get me into that position, and I owe a lot of credit to them. And I would say, as I was on the board, when I was responsible for growing the membership of our chapter, constantly we were getting emails about either from organizations looking to hire a specific security candidate, or on the opposite, people within the organization who were looking to find a job. And it kind of became, we're sort of a matchmaker of the security profession, and it happened often. It was a great experience to one, you get more involved in other businesses, and you get involved with a lot of it helps you network with a lot of the members in the chapter. I can say going to chapter meetings, I'm not one when I get into that public setting, and I'm a big fan of going up and just breaking into a conversation and talking. It does not come natural to me. But each of the times I've gone to the meetings, and prior to really knowing a lot of the members, they were welcoming. You go in and they realize that you're new to the group, and they kind of bring you into the circle and start talking to one group, and the next chapter meeting you talk to another group, and it's a great experience. And I think that's, once I got to understand what our chapter was doing, that helped me give me sort of a foundation to look at what the rest of the ISA was doing, look at some of the larger programs that the national organization and international organization do. So I would say, yeah, definitely check out your local chapter. I think every local chapter around these days has a website. I would say not only check out your local chapter, look at some of the ones in the region and other cities around you. It's amazing how different a chapter within 100 miles can be, and you can get a whole different feel, a whole different mix of people. Check them both out if you can. Attend both meetings. At the same time, look at the national or the international ISSA website and see the different programs that are being offered there. I think every time I've gone out to the site, I've learned something new. There's different groups like this that are meeting up, or different chapters or online programs that are going on. So and take advantage of that, what they have to offer.
Well, I wanted to kind of give a little bit of history about my involvement with the ISSA, and I think it really speaks to the ISSA as an organization. You know, I moved to Louisville, Kentucky, and went to work for a company, and they said, we require our employees to be ISSA members. So I didn't even know what the ISSA was then, and so I said, okay. So I went and I went to the meeting, and there were probably 10 people at the meeting, and they had maybe 2 people on the board, and they said, "What? Hey, welcome as a member. Would you like to volunteer on the board?" We're looking for just about anybody. So I was like, yeah, great. This is new. I love to. Don't know what I'm doing, but I'll learn. I became the membership director there, and over the next 3 years, I really tried to grow the chapter and kind of came up with the slogan that everything that we do, every event, we do 3 things: learning, networking, and fun. Those are always requirements at every event that I put on, and hopefully this is no exception. But so that was kind of the motto. Now, somebody stepped out, and we had a gap, and they said, Fritz, would you like to step up as the president? Certainly had no idea what I was doing, but I had grown to really love the people that came to the chapter. They became really part of my family. I wanted to take care of them. I wanted to make sure that, when they come out, that they got a good value for their money, that they had a good time when they came out, that they met other people. How could I help put those people together? How could I help introduce people? How could I help provide them with learning opportunities and have some fun in the process? So after 8 years of doing that, it was very sad to leave there, but it's just a test to the value of that ISSA organization, especially one that's run like Mark and John's chapters. Just fantastic places. Security, I don't know of any other industry that really has a community like security. The people in security are always very passionate about what they do, and the ISSA is kind of a community for that group of people. And when you go to those meetings, just like John said, the people are not they're not shy, and they're not offended if you go up to them. They'll walk up to you, they'll shake your hand, they want to make you feel comfortable. They're there for a reason, and they understand why you're there, and they want to bring you into that community. So I speak very highly of the ISSA, and it's all because of the folks in the chapter like Mark and John. So I want to also kind of jump on that same concept there, because we did have questions from people who asked about kind of that awkwardness and intimidation of networking, and when they go, how do we overcome that? John spoke to it a little bit. How do they get over that when they go to a meeting, or if they go to a conference? How do they really get over that awkwardness and intimidation of meeting those new people?
I think the first thing is, if you recognize somebody who seems to be known, ask them to introduce you. Introduce yourself if you're willing to step out that much. Typically, new people aren't, but once you get involved with the security professionals, you'll realize that they're not a threat. Probably because that's our job, is to counter threats. So we tend to be very welcoming, especially for new people coming in, because I'm getting older. I'm not going to be doing this forever. Eventually, I will have to stop. I'm not going to until I have to. But I need somebody that I can trust to take my place. It's why I do mentoring. It's why I taught for 7 years at the college level. And it is why if somebody wants me to introduce them to people, I'll find out what they want to know, and find the right people and introduce them. So go to the conferences, find out, find somebody that's kind of non-threatening to you, and or someone that you think you can trust, and just ask them. Uh, we're a friendly profession, so you're not going to get shot down. Of course, you could get lucky and ask somebody else that's new, in which case now you've got two of you, so you can go together and introduce yourselves, so you're not doing it alone. So there are ways to work it out no matter what.
Awesome. John?
Yep, I usually tend to, when I go to these meetings, like I said, I'm not the one that likes to break out and dive right into a conversation. When I walk into a new place, or I'm not familiar with everyone there. So I usually kind of look for three different people within the group. There's usually the ones who are in the back they're also new. That's if you're new, go talk to some of the people in the back who really aren't doing a lot of mingling, because they're in the same situation as you. They're not wanting to kind of jump out there and put themselves out right away. So start the conversation there. And start talking to them, see how they're doing, where they're from, and that. The next thing is I always go to whoever's presenting that at that meeting. Typically, they're terrified as well. They're trying to get over that pre-presentation jitters, and they just want to have a quick conversation, and that's always a good start. And then the other thing is the salespeople that are in the meeting, because they're always willing to talk to you. And I've always noticed that if you go up to the salesperson, they're already talking to somebody who's trying to get away. And so, you kind of made two friends there. You met the salesperson, and you saved the person who was trying to step away and head to another conversation. So it's always a good piece. But have fun with it. It's usually when you do that first meeting, you're kind of terrified, but there's nothing. It's a great group, as Mark said, and Randall said a few minutes ago. It's a great industry to be a part of. Everyone there is welcoming. Most of the time, people, you'll find the groups that they're looking to talk to somebody who's just starting out, because they need them in a certain area and they would love to place them. So they're looking for those new people. So it's just like when you started off the career, you started to make this change, either to go in here as a new career or just starting off on your career path. You were nervous, but you had to step over and overcome that fear, and that's the best thing you can do. It's tough. I hate doing it. Like I said, when I first started off, it was not not the fun point for me. That was not the best part of the starting the career. But you got to get over that fear. You got to step forward and put yourself out there, and it'll pay dividends.
I absolutely agree with that. Practice at it. That is one of the things that practice definitely helps with for most people. And most people are scared to get up in front, speak, give a presentation, and they have been since they were in school. But it got easier because the teachers made them do it. Same thing, you get up at a meeting, introduce yourself. Most people are scared to death to do that, but it's a friendly crowd. It's a safe place to be. Nobody's going to judge you. Everybody was there. Everybody's been there before, and some people are still there. So, practice makes perfect at it. You got guys that are speaking at conferences now, and they used to be the most introverted people in the world. So they just kept on doing it. They got used to it, and they grow to like it. Now you can't get them to shut up, but definitely just go out there and do it. Walk up to one person, shake their hand, say hi. Introduce yourself. Then you've done it once. Now you can do it twice. And once you start doing it, then it becomes easy. So, excellent. The next question, and we are at about a quarter till the hour, so we have about 15 minutes left. So we'll try to get maybe one or two more questions in. Very good question here from Daniel Brabins, and he asks, other than direct networking via our local chapters and other methods, is there a specific job website, LinkedIn, Monster, Dice, etc., that seems to stand out more in terms of quality job opportunities from strong companies? Mark?
Well, to make the answer brief, no. especially for security jobs, because you go out and you'll search, and you'll find that you search for security, and you can patrol a mall at night. You search for security, and you can be a gate guard. Uh, but to find the security profession jobs are it's difficult to craft it. You might look for certain certifications, but those certifications are showing up in many job recs now for people that really don't need them, but it's recognized that that background in security helps in many jobs that are not directly what you would call a security professional position. We're fortunate here in our chapter is that one of our members who's retired actually started a website just to comb through and pull the cybersecurity jobs and post those, particularly for the Colorado Springs area, but also for the Colorado area. And she's getting headhunters now sending her job recs countrywide for security people, because we are in demand. As things come up like the Internet of Things, where your toaster could be attacking your refrigerator. It's there are a lot of things that got to be looked at, and there's also the fact that we've got new technologies coming in, quantum computing. We're just now beginning to explore what is going to happen. One of the things I know is going to happen is that it's going to completely turn us around and in our thinking on cryptography, because with quantum computers, what used to take 1,000 years may take 10 minutes to brute force a key. So we've got to find ways to counter that, and so there are a lot of opportunities that you'll find. One of the things to do though is keep your eye out, and frankly, going back to it, the people that are in the ISSA chapters, they'll know when a job is going to open, sometimes before their manager does, because they haven't told them yet. So they will help you find a place, or at least they can point you to somebody to talk to. In terms of a nice area like LinkedIn, Monster, or Dice, as you recommended there, or mentioned there, Daniel, you may or may not find what you're looking for there. The jobs are there, but they're not in the mainstream. So you've got to find a way to get to them.
I would definitely agree. I think that those sites they serve a purpose. It's a tool. It's one of the tools you can put into your toolbox. But by no means would I say that Monster is better than Dice, or Dice is better than LinkedIn, or LinkedIn is better than the next one. That you'll, to Mark's point, you type in security in there, it's amazing what will come back. I mean, you can security of the dog pound down the street, or it's amazing what comes up. So use it as just a common search, see what's out there, see what companies are. You'll find if a company's hiring for a large group, those will come through. It's a good place to have your resume out on and search to see what's out there. But definitely, it is not going to replace the networking. I don't think that I've ever seen where I found something on CareerBuilder that I didn't have a call from a recruiter the next day, and I didn't hear somebody from the local chapter of ISSA tell me about that position. So to Mark's point, usually members within the group, if they're looking for some another opportunity, they'll tell you that, hey, this job everybody's getting ready to open up because I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going for this other one. I can say personally, a couple of the different roles that I've had. Either I was following an ISSA member, or someone was following me, in that path, and it's kind of a carousel. You make the rounds. So like I said before, just definitely use it as a tool, but do not rely heavily on only that one tool.
Yeah, I totally agree there. From the job search perspective, I would say that something like Indeed, Indeed, that's an aggregator. So it goes out and it kind of, scrapes the internet, and it posts jobs from all different sites. So it's not a job search board by itself, but it presents you with a bunch of different aggregated links. So that's a really kind of a good place to do it. And then also they give you the ability to do job alerts, so you don't have to like go and search, every 5 minutes. If something matches your query, the keyword and the location that you're in, you get an email. And in fact, you get them probably so frequently that you don't want them, but you can change the frequency to daily, weekly, monthly. My wife is actually going through job search right now, so this is a very pertinent topic for us. But definitely Indeed is a good one that I've found. LinkedIn and Dice is very technical. Monster is not so much. Career Builder, it's kind of good, but definitely Dice is a very technical, almost all just IT jobs. But LinkedIn, I would say, is already, if not in the future, probably the biggest. Not only for seeing jobs that are posted, but for having people find you. I bet you I get 5 a day of people, hey, I have a job in Arkansas, I don't know how you can turn that off, but update your profile in there. It's basically your online resume. Update it and keep it up to date. Post updates, professional updates to it, content, comments, or whatever. Comment on other people, because all your activity is just replicated out through all your contacts. Every time you meet somebody, it's kind of like the new world business or business card. I just did a networking event yesterday. Nobody passed out business cards, but everybody linked in with each other. So, and then every time they do anything, you see it, and then you see their contacts and the people that they're linked in with, and people will find you because you're in the same group, because you're linked in with somebody that they're linked in with. And so it's a great tool. Leverage that as much as you can. Networking, the other thing I wanted to say is networking is, as John said, is the biggest job search tool. And going to those meetings, they see you, they know who you are. 5 years from now, there's a job opening. I just know who that guy is. He's been coming to the meetings every month for 5 years. I know him. That's the best job reference you're ever going to get. They hear about things you've done, projects you've worked on, questions that you've asked. They see how you presented yourself. They see you're professional. They see you have an aptitude for this. They see you have a good attitude. That's the best job reference in the world. That person probably never even need to interview you. They know you well enough just because you've been coming to the same meetings for 5 years. So that going to those events, going to the conferences, going to the meetings, and just getting out there rubbing elbows with these people, that is the best job search you can do. Now, it might not get you a job today, but in 2, 3, 4, or 5 years, that will pay dividends you cannot even imagine. I'm telling you from experience. So just the example there is I was with the chapter for 12 years in Louisville, and they needed an instructor at the community college for security, and they go, see if Fritz wants to do it. I didn't even know anything about the job. They approached me because they saw me in the chapter every month, and they wanted me to come in there, and basically came to me with that. And I just thought I was very honored by that. But it just speaks just to the power of, they've known me for 12 years. They know who I am. So. All right, we are almost out of time. I wanted to wrap it up here, unless anybody has any objections. All right, so I want to go ahead and bring it to an end today. I do want to thank our panelists for joining us today, Mark Spencer and John Zuziak. Thank you very much for taking the time to share your knowledge and experience with us. I also want to thank all the people who attended. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. And I hope you are enjoying your membership with the ISSA. I wanted to mention our next meetup is going to be September 9th, and that is going to be on how to land your next security job. So that will be very good. If you have any additional questions that you'd like to ask these speakers, please contact Leah Lewis, and that's L. Lewis, Lewis, at ISSA.org. And for more information on the ISSA's Cybersecurity Career Lifecycle program, please visit the ISSA.org website. And I hope you'll stay tuned for future ISSA events, and have a great evening.